Have you ever been home alone, on your way home from work, or taking a late night stroll, only to get the strange feeling that you're being watched? Most of the time, it's just an unsettling feeling that everyone experiences now and then, but for some, it's something more. It's their body telling them they're not exactly alone. Hello everybody, my name is Marcellus, and these are some of Reddit's creepiest stalker stories. I'll only be going over 3, but let me tell you, each story is crazier than the last. But before we begin, if you enjoy this type of content, feel free to leave a sub. I'm hoping to hit 3,000 subscribers before the end of the year and would really appreciate it if you could help out. I'm hoping to build a community of like-minded people that also enjoy these types of Reddit stories. Thanks again, and without further delay, let's get right into the video. What is your creepiest stalker story? Mine isn't that special, but here it is all the same. A few years ago, my anxiety was high. I was already at a point in my life where I thought I was a little out of it, but that was amplified by a lot when I kept repeatedly hearing noises outside my window, like every single night. It just wouldn't stop. I would finally get so freaked out, I'd go wake my parents up and get them to look outside, but they never found anything. I started to think I was crazy or just subconsciously seeking attention. One morning, my grandfather discovered one of our lawn chairs beneath our bathroom window. It's pretty high up, and the bottom pane is fogged, so I'm not sure the chair even helped, but it was left there regardless. The next night, heard sounds again. Nothing. The night after, however, we checked outside and discovered something that made my stomach churn. A small stepladder was sitting directly outside of my window, back just enough to allow someone to sit on but still see. On my windowsill was a now cold McDonald's, which is just up the street from me. Most of the food was still in there, but still, someone had been watching me doing absolutely nothing of interest in my room without me knowing for I don't know how long. The cops were called. Nothing happened. I felt crazier than ever. No one was to be found, but at least we had some evidence that someone that shouldn't be hovering around our house was at my window, watching intently through the blinds in a space between the two curtains. Heard noises the next night. Ran outside. Nothing. Earlier in the night, I'd sewn my curtains together, which hopefully made it harder to see in. Apparently it did, because now he had taken to climbing on top of our air conditioning unit, and from there, climbing onto our garbage can, and then standing on that so he could see above where the drapes went. The handprints and shoe prints were left on the lid to prove it. I should also mention that there are now holes in my screen. I heard these holes be created. He took a stick and sharpened it somehow. We found it outside my window and was trying to stealthily break away the screen, bit by bit. The hole is still there. The next night, I distinctly heard gravel near my window crunch. There was simply no mistaking my sound. As stealthily as I could, I let out a small moan he surely heard and rolled just out of view, as if I were sleeping. Then pressed myself against the wall out of view of the window, very quietly opened my door and crept down the hall. My heart was pounding. Normally I knock on my parents' door, but I knew the slightest sound would make the bastard bolt, so I quietly opened the door and sneaked in, then informed them that there was, without a single doubt, somebody outside my window. They didn't mind the intrusion and got up, got dressed, formulated a plan, and crept to the back door. I ran to the bathroom to stand on the edge of our tub and peek out the window, just as the back door was thrown open, and my parents ran outside like morons. And sure enough, they saw him. They started screaming as the man leapt off the Herbie and bolted down our driveway, which was what I was looking at. They screamed all sorts of horrible things at the top of their lungs. He ended up escaping across the street, hiding behind a house adjacent to us. The balls on this bastard. He kept peeking out at us as we all stood outside, but we wanted to leave him there so the cops could finally nab him. They were called. They came and they searched, but they never found him. Bastard must have hopped a fence or something. Still to this day, I hear sounds outside my window, even in the dead of winter, but he's never out there. He might have just been a peeper, but he targeted me specifically and for months, until he was almost caught. What really pisses me off is that once he lost interest in me, because it was too unsafe, he moved on to another house down the street with 2 little girls. He actually managed to get in through their window, and their dad caught him just standing in the middle of the room watching them sleep, jacking it. I still don't think he was caught, even then. All I know is that it could have been way worse, but it messed me up. I trust the men in my neighborhood even less now. The men around here stare very blatantly. I've been chased home by one. I've had a guy try to jerk me into his car when I was passing him, telling him no, I don't need a ride, and to leave me alone. All these years later, I still hear stuff outside my window and freak out. It's messed up. I turn out my lights entirely to exercise. I do my best to avoid the windows when I undress. It just scarred me, even though it wasn't a huge deal. Alright, this first story is already crazy. I know OP is probably just saying it for their own sake, but yeah, having a random person repeatedly trying to break into your room is very much a big deal. Also, where do you live that you can't even walk down the street without people staring and even trying to abduct you, and the police don't seem interested in helping at all? I don't know, crazy story though. I'm just happy OP seems to be a lot safer and finally left alone. My stalker. So I'm your average 21-year-old girl who in her spare time likes to go on dating apps. I found a knockoff dating app that's kinda like Tinder, but it's for guys that like curvy women. So off the bat I found a couple of nice guys to chat with, but the next day I get the message that changed everything. Usually my type is guys my age, but he was older, like in his 40s older. We weren't even 8 chat bubbles in until he said, I can tell that you'd be a wonderful mother. I took it as a compliment at first. That wasn't the creepiest thing I've heard a guy say to me. Honestly, I should have stopped talking to him, but I was bored and the rest of my chats ghosted me. So I just stuck with this conversation. He told me how he lives in the next town over from my small town. So he was actually really close to me. He was a single dad, so that you'll be a wonderful mother compliment meant something different now, in a creepy way. He was a bartender at 2 bars, one in his town, and he worked at another in my town. At the bar in my town, where he did his weekend shifts, he was only 5 minutes away, which kinda unnerved me because I didn't want to see him in real life. A week later, he started getting really clingy, sending me good morning text with 4 emojis following it. I didn't want to be mean, so I kept it short and simple, and said hi back. Then he said, listen, I'm going to the beach this weekend in my Jeep. I'd love for you to come so I can make you happy for a day. Plus, I'd like to get a peek at that curvy body that you claim you have. I said I was busy with work stuff and that I couldn't go. He just dismissed it and said he'd miss me. I did feel like going to the beach though that day, so I went to a local spot that was past his town by a few miles. I was there for about an hour and I was tanning on my stomach, but then I heard someone walking up to me. Looking up, I saw a beefy looking guy who looked to be late 30s. He smiled at me in a weird way, which freaked me out. And before I could ask what his deal was, he said, so this is work stuff. My heart stopped for a second. It couldn't be him. I never saw his face before, but who else would know what I said in my text messages? This was the beach I was going to. What a coincidence, huh? He smirked. I just nodded and started to gather my things. Yeah, really is a coincidence. When I stood up, he took a long stride forward so that he stood in front of me, leaving little space between us. Hey, looks like you're changed to go swimming. Shall we go into the water? He smirked again. I was getting really nervous. I said no and I went to my car quickly and drove off. I saw him standing on the grass beside the road, waving at me with a smile. What a freaking psycho. Another week passed and I kept my communications with him short, but during the week, I had odd run-ins with him. First, at Walmart. I could understand this because he lives in a house behind Walmart, but still it was weird. Then I went to a bar that was a couple minutes from my house. I was with my friend and we took some pictures together and I put them on Instagram. 30 minutes later, he came in with his work attire on. He sat down next to me while my friend was on the other side. Oh, you come here too? I look at him oddly and say, I come here every Friday with my friend. I've never seen you here before. Why are you here? Just passing by and I saw your car and thought I'd say hi. Also, what are you drinking? Can I buy you another? My friend grabs my knee and I know she's telling me I need to get out of there. I just say no thanks and quickly pay for my drinks. He got up too and followed us outside. You can't drive. You've been drinking. Let me take you home. I can take care of you. I was scared. His tone of voice sounded so desperate. I said no and walked to my car and drove home, also making sure I wasn't being followed. The next day, I got a text early in the morning from him. "Hey baby, I was so worried about you last night. I did some digging on my laptop and found your address. You need to be more careful with your privacy, sweetie." I called him on his bluff, saying he didn't have my address, but in the next few seconds, there it was. My full address and even more information, like the names of my parents, my full name, all our birthdays. I was terrified. "I can come over and comfort you now. I want to show you how much I love you, and I'll make you fall for me too." I didn't know what to do. At the moment, I was alone and I had to think fast. The neighbor across the street from me was an ex-cop, so I quickly gathered my keys and phone and ran to his house, praying he'd be home. I saw his truck in the driveway, and I felt so relieved. I saw him in the garage, and I ran over, telling him I needed help. He listened to my story and had a look of concern the whole time. He told me to come inside and to look out the window for his Jeep to go down my driveway. If it was him and he turned into my driveway, my neighbor would call the police. It was about 20 minutes, but I heard a loud noise coming down the road, and there he was, in his Jeep. He turned right and slowed down, I guess to find the right house. He saw my address and quickly pulled in. My neighbor grabbed the phone and started talking to the police directly instead of the operator. I got a text on my phone from him saying, "I'm at your door. So this is where you hide. I feel sick. I'm just waiting for the police to come barreling down my road to get him." I think he realized I'm not answering the door, so he got back in his Jeep to leave, but the timing couldn't be more perfect because 2 police cars came around the corner and blocked off my driveway, so he couldn't go anywhere. I went outside and I saw him in handcuffs. He saw me too, and he honestly looked heartbroken. I didn't feel bad though. What he did was crazy. There wasn't enough evidence to put him in jail for too long, but I did get a restraining order, which is working well. So far. Nah, cause this is exactly why I don't do dating. It'd be like this for me every day. But seriously, that's honestly really creepy. Like, you have kids, dog. Go home to your family. Stop terrorizing this girl. But it just goes to show how careful you need to be when posting things online. You never know who's really watching. My true story about meeting my stalkers. Basically, after being harassed by a cult, which can make it seem like their voices came from the walls in my house, and experiencing them disable our security system and entering the house many times, which made my family think I was paranoid and delusional, I had a breakdown. And shortly after promised my family I would get treatment at a free rehab in Utah called Odyssey House. My family was happy and proud of me for doing so, even though I said I was doing it for their well-being and not my own. I had already been sober for a long time. However, my stalkers had successfully managed to make me look like a complete basket case, unescorted by drug use of any kind. When I got to Odyssey House, they transported me to a 24-hour detox center called Volunteers of America in downtown Salt Lake. When I arrived, it was nighttime and every patient was sleeping on the floor with mats and blankets. I lay down, I look at the ceiling, and I know how ridiculous this sounds, but please believe me. I hear my name and look up to realize somebody unscrewed the top of the light bulb socket somehow, enough to stick their hand through while holding a meth pipe. They kept calling my name, asking me if I wanted a bowl. This would obviously be a ridiculous sight for most, but because I had been dealing with the voices from the walls at my house for so long, I just laughed it off and was like, "Dude, what are you doing? You see where we are right now. I don't want your drugs." I had never smoked meth before, so I don't know why they thought that would be tempting to me at all. Mind you, I was sleeping on the floor with like 50 other homeless people, and some guy is insisting that I hit a meth pipe through the damn ceiling. Try to envision this because it gets even more ridiculous. So here's where it gets crazy and completely disproves the fact that this was in my head. I get up and walk across the hallway to get some water because I can't sleep with this guy trying to give me a pipe through the light bulb socket. I talk to some people who are still awake in the kitchen area of the detox center and tell them about my experiences hearing voices at my house and how that landed me here in this detox clinic. Some people were nice and understanding, others just listened and nodded in confusion. While this is happening, the guy in the ceiling keeps talking to me as if nothing is going on, presumably knowing that I'm not going to tell on him. I knew not to try and tell anyone else about this guy because the people at my house have made it clear that they hate when you talk about us. So I just ignored it, presuming he was in the same cult. The people around me in the kitchen area kept noticing I was talking to myself, so they started talking to me, asking what I was doing. I explained to them something extremely weird was happening in this building without specifically saying what. As I kept talking, the guy in the ceiling did so as well. Two other people were like, "Wait, do you guys hear that?" And then I said, "Yeah, you mean the voice coming from up there?" And they were like, "Yeah, dude, what the hell is that?" Thank the Lord, because this just proves I wasn't crazy. There was an actual human being around in the ceiling, and finally, two other people had noticed it also. This was extraordinarily satisfying to me because my deaf family could never hear the voices happening at my house. Achieving validation felt so good. The other two guys didn't seem to think much about it and went to bed shortly after. So I was just left there alone watching TV. The guy in the ceiling asked me to put on Dumb and Dumber for him on the TV and turn up the volume, which I did. And then he left me alone. 10 minutes later, the guy in the ceiling was like, "Dude, can you just please get me a book to read and I'll leave you alone." I get to the bookshelf and the guy is like, "On the top left corner of the bookshelf near the security camera, there's a hole. I need you to slide the book in there." I look on the side of the bookshelf and sure enough, there's a square hole big enough to put a book in. You had to put the book in and use another book to push it in even further to send the first book through. If anyone ever visits the place, Volunteers of America in Salt Lake City, Utah, I implore you to look at that hole on the left side of the bookshelf and you will see what I'm saying is true. I'm banned from going back there, but this is the hole they use to send drugs back and forth to the people inside. The guy in the ceiling then asked me to get another book and put it on the corner of a room that's off limits, promising that this would be the last of the stupid requests he would make me do. It had a sliding metal gate blocking the entrance, which I had to climb over to put the book in the top corner of the room where he had asked. I thought by being nice to this person, he would leave me alone, but this was all just a plan to get me kicked out and arrested for tampering with the cameras. So time goes by and I think nothing of it. Then this weird, tall, skinny white guy with long hair who looks to be about 30 starts talking to me. He's all zoned out, but promised he's not on any drugs. He starts talking to me, small talk at first, but then name drops the name of my brother, Justin Painter. Look it up because this idiot sure did, who had at 22 years old in 2017 in the Draper, Utah area. He was so heartless as to tell me that he was there carrying the casket with me. And how could I not remember him? At the time, I completely believed him because he seemed to know the details of that day. And Justin was only my half-brother. I never knew his other family very well. I also barely remembered that day because I was drunk at the funeral. So I keep talking to him. And I'm just amazed at how fate led me to meet my brother's brother. I say, "OMG, this is so amazing. I'm sorry I don't remember you. You must know Justin's mom, Regina." To which he says, "No, I'm only his half-brother." And I found that very strange because I was also his half-brother and had only known Justin for a couple years at the time. And even I knew his mom. Okay, sure, maybe that's fine. I mean, who really cares if he knew his mom or not? But then I ask other questions, and they all devolve into him just mumbling about himself and not really being coherent. I asked him if he had a home, and he said no. I gave him a hug and told him, "I'm so sorry. Why don't you give me your number and we can talk after this?" I know Justin was staying with his family friends growing up, and that was very hard on him. He just keeps mumbling about some random stuff, completely forgetting my question, until eventually the employee at the detox center comes in screaming at me and is like, "All right, I'm tired of you. Get out of here." I replied in a daze. "Wait, what? No, what? No, I have to be here, please. My family is counting on me to complete this program. I really need to be here, please." What did I even do? I was calm and nice the entire time this happened. Then the guy says, "No, we know what you're doing here. Get out of here before we call the police. We have footage of you messing with the cameras, and now the footage is looping." I'm completely dazed and tears crying at this point, just because of how violent his voice was. He had been so nice before. Then I say, "No wait sir, I promise I wouldn't even know how to mess with the cameras if I wanted to. Please show me the footage. I promise you I wasn't doing anything wrong." And he's like, "We don't have to show you anything. We have footage of you climbing over that gate and now the cameras are all messed up. Out. Get out right now. Sign these papers and get out." I'm in tears at this point, and I just say, "Fine, you don't have to show me the footage, then I don't have to sign anything." Then I left the building and started exploding crying at the entrance. Then, still at the front of the doors building, I start to hear the guy from the ceiling, and he starts saying, "OMG, I'm so sorry dude, I messed up, I thought you were a different person." I get into a huge argument, which was really just a few "how could you do this to me" between tears and snot running down my face. Then he was like, "Dude, I'm so sorry. Somebody else took the meth pipe, and I thought it was you. BS lie, I know." He just felt bad. "Look, I'm gonna make this right, okay? Look, just walk to the next road. I'm going to call you an Uber, and I'm going to make sure you don't get arrested, okay? Because now that you left without signing the papers, they're gonna doctor footage of you and say you disabled the cameras to smoke heroin, and you will be a felon. So please, stop crying. I'm going to make this right, I promise. I'm just defeated at this point. So I try walking back to the rehab center, which is downtown, and wait for them to open. When I get there, I try to ask them to let me use their phone to call my family and explain what happened, but they all just yell at me even harder and tell me to leave before they call the police. I'm a very kind and soft-spoken to help illustrate this picture. When I get home, the rehab had called to tell my family that I had deactivated the cameras to smoke heroin in the bathroom. My family was devastated, and I was too destroyed after the events that had transpired to even try to point out the blatant fact that one wouldn't have to disable cameras to achieve smoking in the bathroom. I wasn't gonna put them through distress and say it was people in the walls again. Back home, sitting in my room, crying, sure enough, the voices come back. Hey, you were really stupid for not signing those papers when you left. We're working on not getting you arrested. They're trying to pin heroin possession on you, and they already have a fake urine sample. Oh great, I reply. Listen, they say. Any amount of heroin inside a detox facility is an automatic felony, so we're not 100% on if we'll be able to help you out, but we're trying to do our best, okay? Oh, and you know that weird tall guy that you were talking to that said he was Justin's brother? That guy was recording you, trying to get you to say something incriminating. He's not with us. That guy is weird, and we would never do something like that. I didn't know if that was the truth, but all the people that gang stalk me normally are pretty eloquent and smart sounding. This guy was far from it. He found the pictures of you at the funeral on Facebook and decided to use that to try and get you to trust him. He's a creep dude. He got fired that same night you were there. Silence for a day. Then they talked to me again. Hey dude, you're good. You don't have to worry about prison anymore. We took care of it. Never come back to Odyssey House again. We run that place and we don't want you there. So just relax and don't talk about us anymore. We'll leave you alone. It was not the last time they talked to me, but it was the most eventful 2 days of our relationship. This is all true, and I implore anyone who lives in Salt Lake and has been a victim of this too to go see this place for yourselves. Volunteers of America is the name of the place and is by the Target in Salt Lake City. I'm not mentally ill. My brother's name was Justin Painter, and the voices took credit for ending his life. They kept saying that they liked him more than me, and that even then, killing him was nothing to them. They told me they harassed him until he had no other choice but to end his life. They told me that they knew my entire bloodline was a cancer to the world, and that one day they would kidnap me and show me what was really happening before they killed me. So this story is just insane. Whether the event truly happened or not, a lot of commenters are suggesting that OP might be an undiagnosed schizophrenic, and I'm inclined to agree. Other than the fact that he's hearing voices in his walls, I looked up Odyssey House in Utah, and while it is in fact an addiction treatment center, the quote-unquote detox facility, Volunteers of America, is a homeless shelter, which kind of makes sense when all the patients are sleeping on the floor. Also, the fact that the man in the ceiling apparently did something to the cameras and got him in trouble, it's also exactly what he said was happening at his house, in the beginning as well. I think he just didn't mention the extra parts of him messing in the cameras when he was sending in that book into the wall. The apparent proof of the two guys hearing the voices just seems like them messing with him. But you see just how a little attention validated his delusions, which by the way, you should never do if someone is struggling mentally. At the end of it all, I hope OP is doing okay, getting the help he needs, as the final sentence of his story is quite morbid and raises more than a few concerns. Yeah, I just hope he's doing a lot better. But there you have it. 3 of Reddit's creepiest stalker stories. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a like and drop a sub as well. Again, I'm trying to hit 3,000 subscribers before the end of the year, and I will appreciate any help you can give. Thanks again, and I'll see you guys in the next one.